Hello everybody. I moved from the US to India in 2019-2020 region with a lot of hope and also a lot of questions. It was an uncertain time for me and I transitioned from a very well-paid job to the startup world where I had absolutely no clarity if I would make any money at all. And this transition has taught me a lot of lessons, but more importantly in this video I want to actually put in front of you what are some of the factors that I was considering when I was going through this transition. Why this transition to start off with? And I believe some of these lessons, some of these factors would help you in going through different types of transitions, whether it is from one job to another job, from one country to another country, from a job to an education space, or just moving between different jobs. And I think these transition factors are personally very intuitive, but we just don't put them in a structured way to think all of them together. So here is my humble attempt. The first point that I want to touch about is what was I doing before moving from the US to India? I was working in a very well-paying job, McKinsey and Company. I was a management consultant, and that's a very reputed company and a lot of people among us want to work for that company. And I worked there already for 7+ years. And I wanted to then move out because the work was really taxing. Yes, I did learn a lot, but after 7 years, traveling every single week, Monday through Friday, and you being under constant stress from Monday through Friday, every single week, like 24/5, 5 days a week, right? That was like getting onto my body, both physically and also emotionally. And I was about to have a kid around that time, and I decided that, hey, I want to spend some time with my kid, with my family, and I don't want to be a weekend father because on weekdays I'm anyways traveling to a different city. So a lot of personal and emotional reasons came into the picture. Also, of course, physical health. My back was already giving up on me. So I decided to leave that job. But the next best alternative was, why not pick up a corporate job in the US itself? There are a lot of opportunities. Typically, if you are a consultant at one of these big consulting companies, clients themselves will offer you a job. And I did have these kind of opportunities, but I decided I wanted to do something much more meaningful at a personal capacity. So I decided to stay in the education space. For me, two things are important. Number one is education. Number two is healthcare. And the access to education and healthcare compared to US, in India, I've already noticed a lot of difference in the terms of quality and access. And whichever report you read, you will find that unemployment rate is pretty high. Graduates not getting jobs. So I wanted to contribute in my own capacity. Well, I might not be able to impact the entire country, but yes, if there is a way in which I can contribute and make even a small change, why not? It is not about big numbers all the time. So hence, I decided to take that push. Also, by that time, I had some teaching experience. I was teaching in a high school at Washington, DC. And that volunteering experience also taught me a lot. So why not take that jump into the education space? So all these things together have pushed me and said, hey, why not? Both for professional reasons and also for personal reasons, it might be a good idea to jump into the Indian education space. Well, the workload potentially could reduce and I could work on something more meaningful for myself and add value at a grassroots level. Not just personal or professional reasons, but also there is a family component involved, right? I was already married. My parents once flew to the US by that time. And these factors were also very important in this entire transition. And luckily, my wife was always comfortable with the decision of moving back to India. Well, the reasons were very similar. And also, when I asked my parents, they came to the US once. They spent close to 6 months in the US, but they said, absolutely, we are not coming back again because our entire life is built in India. And why would we leave that entire community, that entire social network that we have built? And why will we move back to the US? So that led me to move back to the US because I also wanted to spend some time with my parents. And when I asked myself this question about, hey, where do I want my kids to grow up? As I already mentioned, I was about to have a kid, and I personally believe that my parents are probably better teachers than me, and I wanted my kids to be around them. I was also a teacher, right? So I could notice what was happening in the schools. What is the value system that was imparted to the kids? Of course, no judgments, but that is something which I was not comfortable with. Everybody has their own opinions. So I wanted my kids to grow up in an environment where the family is actually giving a lot more values, and my grandparents, their grandparents, my parents would play a bigger part in their overall development. And that was the reason as well. And that I would consider to to be the biggest reason of all. And the next one is I was always checking on the back of my mind, what is my backup plan? Well, from a financial standpoint, the job was decently paying, and so I had that liberty to take a 2 to 3 year gap. I had that emergency fund built for 3 years. Add on top of that, my wife was already pretty much in favor of the decision, and she said, you do whatever experiments you want to do in your career. I will go ahead and continue with the corporate job, and I'm comfortable with that. So she picked up a job, and she was making sure that we don't jump into our savings for every single day. And also we decided to shrink back on our lifestyle quite a bit, moving to a lower house, probably from a 3-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, and also a smaller car. All these things very quickly added up on our savings, and also it gave me a lot of freedom to push on the things that I really wanted to. So both the financial perspective, the savings that I already have, plus a comfortable steady stream of income has helped me to calm my nerves and not push too much for money right from day one in my startup journey. So I could do a lot of stuff in the area that I was always excited about, education. So if you go back into my LinkedIn profile, I'll give you the link in the description. You will notice that once I moved out of McKinsey, all I did, the different startups, good, bad and ugly, everything was in the same space. And I believe as long as I continue to add value, I can do as many experiments as possible. Success will hit sooner rather than later, but it's all about sticking to that one field and learning a lot about that field in this entire journey. Now, also, one other backup plan for me personally was the brands that I was associated with. My previous employer, McKinsey, had a great brand in the market. Also, I did my MBA from INSEAD, one of the best globally renowned schools. So I knew if my startups wouldn't work out, then I can go probably into a corporate job. My brands, the network associated with those brands would come into picture. Thankfully, I never had to rely on those brands yet. But if push comes to shove, that's an option that I can still use. Now, the question that you should be asking yourself is, am I looking forward to my next transition? If I'm looking forward to my next transition, do I have the professional course of action that I want to take over the next few years? Not necessarily entire clarity, but at least at a very high level, what do you want to do? The second thing is your family on board. Trust me, this is even more important than having that professional clarity. The third and also the most important thing is you need to have that backup plan. If plan A doesn't work, what is your plan B? What is your plan C? Plan A, plan B, plan C might not fetch you the same results, might not give you the same monetary gains, might not be equally satisfying, but still you need to have the plan A, B, C. And once you finish having these plans, then it is all up to you to just rock and roll and move forward. Trust me, it's been a few years and I would never say the journey is easy. The journey is extremely difficult, both from a financial and also from a personal standpoint. The adjustments are not easy to make, but it is worth it and you will feel satisfied at the end of the day. That's how I feel. Hopefully, this gives you that enough confidence and courage to go ahead and plan for that transition, and you don't directly jump into the ocean. See you again, guys. If you have any questions related to my transition, please do share it in the comment section and I will try to answer to the best of my abilities. Thank you again. Bye-bye.